Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, and MeWe. And of course, be sure to visit mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
My name is Parker Joe, and I'm with Social Services. I need police and paramedics. I had a female DOA. I'm your social worker, and you got a daughter who needs to get to school on time.
Stop prying into my family.
I'm trying to keep Ashley from being taken away from you.
I didn't know you were getting out today.
Dahlia! You're the man who's been looking after my family, huh?
I'm back. I'd love nothing more than have to come by here anymore.
Prodigal son is home.
Caught some chatter on the inside that might be a real score.
Take care of business.
We're going in there for the money and the drugs.
I'm worried about Ashley. I'm also concerned for you.
What you think you know.
Cops came to see me. Tell me this isn't happening again.
What you hold so dear.
You think you could do a big favor for Dad today?
What you think you are.
This happened here because of you. You got the cartel after all of us.
Why are you even helping us?
No one helped me when I needed it most.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 366. Releasing across the US on September 3rd in select theatres, video on demand, and digital is The Gateway, a crime thriller that stars Shea Whigman as a social worker over his head as he protects a family from violent criminals. Evoking the spirit of classic tough guy character thrillers of the 70s, The Gateway also boasts a cast that includes Olivia Munn, Frank Grillo, and the legendary Bruce Dern. And I'm glad to say joining me now on the podcast is the director of The Gateway, Michele Civetta. Michele, I thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Matt, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. You just hit the nail on the head with just about everything about what the story's about.
Well, it's really interesting, the genesis of this project. I mean, the screenplay was been around for a while. In fact, it was on the blacklist, which for people who don't know is kind of like this place where unproduced screenplays kind of go, really kind of screenplays not made yet. People really dig them. You guys made a great film out of it. How did you come across this screenplay, which I believe was called Where Angels Die, way back when?
It sounds like some sort of a melodramatic Douglas Sirk film from the 50s or something. So, our producer, Andrew Levitas, had actually optioned that script, I guess, probably about 4 years back. And he called me and he said, I have a very good, inner city crime thriller film. The architecture of the story is great. And the world that, it plays out in is super fascinating. However, it really needs, kind of a bit of insight in terms of the characters, the backstory, and just kind of enriching, I guess, the world of what was there. I basically set out to rewrite a bunch of it and just kind of fuse what was already on the page at the beginning. It's the beauty of working in something that's genre, I guess, is that from there, I feel like we kind of created more of a tapestry piece and kind of updated it to feel more like a neo-noir.
Was it always set in St. Louis?
No, it was originally set in Chi-Town, as they call Chicago, from gangland kind of nomenclature. I brought it to St. Louis only because it felt like an apt metaphor in terms of the title of the film that I ended up retitling it, and just what the city was in the story, which is a bit of a symbol of a certain type of city in the U.S. that has kind of fallen on hard times and was really the byproduct of a different era, both socio-economically and just in terms of its form and function, in terms of commerce and economics.
The lead role of Parker is played by Shea Whigman, and he, in my opinion, is one of the great American character actors. He's one of those actors that whatever he appears in, he always kind of elevates the material. He's terrific in this role here. It's like a really rare kind of lead role for him. How did Shea come about joining the project?
We were so lucky because he was the very first actor I sent the part to, and he responded to the material, and like you pointed out, not only is he an extraordinary character actor, and I mean he's popped up in so many things over the years that he's almost like a hero with 1,000 faces or something at this point. But he really is the ultimate insider actor's actor, and so he lent an incredible validity and strength to what the film was. After he signed on, it definitely became a conversation point that other actors were, excited to engage, at least know more about the project. And, I'm super grateful for the level of intensity and just authenticity he brings. And really, he set the tone for everybody else who kind of jumped in. From Olivia Munn to Frank Grillo, and obviously Dern is, a legend and a myth unto himself. So it just calibrated the tonality and the level of seriousness that we wanted to bring to this thing.
Well, it's interesting because I was listening to an interview with Olivia Munn, and she talked about how Shea often encouraged the cast to, they've got to leave blood on the floor. Was her quote, and it's like push themselves, really kind of push themselves. I was sure with a productions like this, independent production, I'm sure there's limited time, limited funds. So have an actor lead the way in that kind of way would have been a godsend for a filmmaker such as yourself.
Oh yeah. Without a doubt, and he inspired me. I tend to work to an aggressive level of OCD when I commit to something, but to have somebody who's a pacemaker like Shea, who's just not willing to walk away from any setup until it's committed to its highest level. And as you pointed out, it's not easy on smaller films because you don't have the luxury of the time. But I think that kind of level of enthusiasm becomes infectious collectively, both for the crew, for other actors, and Olivia had mentioned, I mean, he and I would say goodnight most evenings when we finished, and we were just couldn't even see anymore. We were cockeyed with tired, and just knowing we had to go back, and we'd scream at each other, blood on the floor, which literally was our way of saying that we brought this as far as we could today, and at least we were willing to bleed for what we were doing.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by 80s Tees. 80s Tees is an online retailer of licensed t-shirts and pop culture gear from your favorite movies, TV shows, cartoons, video games, comic books, and musicians. Celebrate your inner 80s nerd and click on the link in the show notes below to get the raddest retro t-shirts delivered to your door. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Loot Crate. Founded in 2012, Loot Crate is the worldwide leader in fan subscription boxes. Loot Crate partners with industry leaders in entertainment, gaming, sports, and pop culture to deliver monthly themed crates, produce interactive experiences in digital content, and film original video productions. No matter what you geek out about, Loot Crate has a subscription box for you. To get your very own exclusive collectibles, apparel, and gear delivered to your door, be sure to click on the link in the show notes below. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is also brought to you by Vudu. Watch the latest movies and TV shows anytime, anywhere. No subscriptions, no contract. Enjoy stunning quality in up to 4K ultra high definition at home, and download and watch on your mobile device as well. To rent and buy from over 100,000 titles or watch thousands of movies free with Vudu Movies on us, be sure to click on the link in the show notes below. Now, back to the show. I mentioned in my introduction how it kind of reminds me of those kind of gritty kind of 70s kind of character pieces. And I think the big reason why is because the character of Parker, he's a guy who really wants to make a difference, but he's a flawed person as well, really very much a flawed anti-hero. He kind of reminds me of the Frank Serpicos, the Harry Callahans, the Popeye Doyles, kind of like those characters. Was that what you guys were going for with this character?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the new American cinema in the 70s, and a lot of the Bob Rafaelson stuff and Cassavetes, and that ambiguity for me is where characters become really fascinating. They become more like real life people in the sense that their motivations and logic is not always as simple as we'd like it to believe, you know? So I think, you know, in crafting Parker, you know, for all of us and what he meant in terms of the ensemble, like, you know, we came up with this moniker early on, which was, he can't take care of himself, but he takes care of others.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's dramatic conflict. And that's kind of really what those films in the 70s was able to achieve. Like you'd get to see the not so pretty details about someone's life and then evaluate who they were in terms of the decisions they make in the story based upon all this stuff. It's not wrapped in a bow for you to digest nice and easily at the end of the picture. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I think, where we try to achieve, like, you know, character development in this film.
Speaking of the 70s, a legend from that era, Bruce Dern, in your film, really terrific work here. Some really great monologues. The chemistry that he had with Shea as well was really great. The scenes that they have together. What was it like having a legendary figure like that on your set?
I mean, it was a dream come true. You know, I love his work in the 70s probably as much as any actor in film history. I just think he's so unique and unpredictable in the nuances and tone he brings to his performances. You know, there's a humanity, a levity, you know, just like a perversity simultaneously. And he really represents a certain kind of Americana for me. And, you know, it was crazy because in writing his role, because basically I wrote almost all the dialogue for him. It was one of the few instances where I actually could hear him saying the lines on paper when I was writing them. And so to basically have him, you know, basically studying that stuff and then interpreting it and not being afraid to go off page with it either. I mean, he just brings such a dynamism, you know, like from the get-go, he basically made me promise him one thing, that we went over, rehearsed it, that he was allowed to come on the first take and basically show who he was and what he wanted to portray in that one specific, you know, dialogue beat, because it creates the opportunity for it to be real, you know, that it's not something that's pre-rehearsed, it's unexpected. And that's what great acting is. And it was a gift that I was so lucky to get to watch and help navigate with him.
The Gateway also kind of showcases another part of your filmmaking, which is that of an action filmmaker. There's a great scene or sequence in this film, kind of like a heist sequence, almost a one-shot take, has such a visceral kind of effect. How do you approach material like that? Do you like the storyboard? Do you? I mean, you don't have time to rehearse. So how do you get that kind of stuff happening? Because it just comes up so well.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, with that one, it was an example of absolutely storyboarding. And I work with floorboards sometimes, which are like kind of like overhead godlike view images of, like, you know, a room. And so, you know, we basically tracked, my cinematographer, Brian Newman, myself, the pathway of each character, where they were going in the labyrinth of rooms and where the camera was and what was going to occur. So we had the opportunity to pre-block it, specifically because there was a lot of ballistics and, you know, kind of like gunfire and stuff. So we had to know what we were doing. So the intention was to make it, you know, feel very visceral, but it was very choreographed, you know, ultimately. Unlike the last gunfight, which was a little bit more raw and in your face, ultimately.
Well, it's a terrific scene, and look, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
And for everyone out there listening, September 3rd in select theatres across the US, also video on demand and digital. The Gateway, I really highly recommend. People want to see something with great character, great thrills, and great heart. I really recommend people check out The Gateway. And Michele, I thank you very much for your time today, and congratulations with the movie.
Oh, thank you, Matt. I really appreciate all the amazing questions and the conversation. Keep on keeping on with all the great work also.
You too. Thank you, Michele. Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content. Also, if you would like to request a review and support my work, please join my Patreon via the link in the description below.